There is an interesting story which is told. It is a man who was clearing the stones and the rocks from his field. They were disturbing the growth of his produce, so rather than disposing of them in a suitable area, he just did what was easiest for him at the time. He just threw them onto the path in front of his property. So passing by one day, the landowner was at the time clearing his field, and another man, an older man, came by and said, "What are you doing? Why are you throwing stones from a place that isn't yours into a place that is yours?" This is what the old man had seen. Well, the landowner stopped his work for a moment and he looked at who was speaking to him. He realized that the old man must be a fool. And he laughed at him and he said, "What are you saying? The opposite is true. You see, I'm throwing stones from my land onto public property." Well, the old man shook his head and he passed by. And throughout the rest of the day, the field owner, he would remember this conversation and he would break out in laughter every time he thought about it. And he kept on continuing to clear his field, throwing the stones onto the path. And he thought this was the best way to do it. Not too long thereafter, the landowner found himself burdened with a huge debt. And in order to pay for it, he had to sell his field, after which he had hired, in this case, another laborer, and he became a laborer. So one day, as he was walking home from work, he began reminiscing about the good old days. Since he was not concentrating on the path in front of him, he tripped over a rock, and this was in the path, and he fell flat on his face. He just about managed to lift his body up, and he looked and he noticed. "Why," he said, "this is right in front of my old fields. This is what I used to own once. And the stone I just tripped over is one of those stones, if I recall, that I had thrown from my field onto the public property. And now this path belongs to me, like everybody else who passes by. And it caused this accident for me." You see, we don't expect that anyone will trip over sometimes a candy wrapper or a receipt or some things that we just throw. We just toss it out on the sidewalk or somewhere. We don't dream of littering the house that we live in or letting our guests or our children do the same. But we don't pay attention when we're outside. Why not pay closer attention to that? Because the great outdoors is also our home.
If you like what you've heard, please let us know by leaving a comment below. We would really appreciate if you would be kind enough to like, share, and even subscribe. Feel free to follow us on Facebook.